Let's jump right in. In this explainer, we're looking at one of the absolute most fascinating culture clashes going on in European sports right now. Picture this. On one hand, you've got this highly predictable, incredibly systematic Romanian furniture and retail empire. And on the other, the gloriously chaotic, emotionally charged, just wildly unpredictable world of Italian Serie A football. How do these two totally different universes even intersect? Well, it all revolves around a remarkably fast takeover that has completely grabbed the attention of the football business world. So buckle up, because we are breaking down the playbook of the ultimate outsider.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To really understand the sheer weight of this takeover, we've got to understand what exactly is being taken over. 1893. Now, that's not just a random date. That is the founding year of Genoa Cricket and Football Club. Fun fact, they were originally set up to represent England abroad, which is actually why they first wore white shirts, just like the English national team. Genoa is officially Italy's oldest active football club. So when you buy into a team like this, you're not just buying a sports franchise, right? You are taking stewardship of an incredibly heavy historical institution.
Section 1. A historic football takeover.
Just imagine the high-stakes scenario here. You have an outsider who walks into one of Europe's most notoriously volatile football markets and just pulls off a move of massive scale. We're talking about acquiring roughly 77% of Genoa CFC in December 2024. This wasn't some minor passive investment either. Following a massive €45 million capital increase, which included $40 million in paid capital, this outsider seized total control of the club. And a court ruling in June 2026 actually upheld the validity of this whole transaction against corporate challenges, which completely cemented his position as the controlling shareholder.
But to fully grasp the kind of pressure this new owner is stepping into, we really have to look at Genoa's history. They absolutely dominated the dawn of Italian football. Right after their founding in 1893, they won the first ever Italian championship in 1898. By 1924, they had secured their ninth and, well, to date, final league title. They were absolute giants back then. But their modern history? Man, it's been a total roller coaster. They've spent decades as this sort of yo-yo team, bouncing painfully between divisions, suffering financial headaches, and navigating constant ownership changes. So you have a fan base whose expectations are rooted in 19th century dominance, but their reality has been pure 21st century survival.
Section 2. Who is Dan Shuku? Which leaves us with the million-dollar question, who exactly is the man behind this move? Well, to play in the big leagues of European football, you obviously need serious financial weight, and Dan Shuku brings exactly that. In 2024, Forbes Romania estimated his net worth at roughly 1.5 billion Romanian lei. To put that into perspective, that's about 300 million euros. So this places him firmly among Romania's wealthiest people. But the absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that this wealth wasn't just handed to him. It was built methodically, piece by piece, in the private sector.
See, before he was a multimillionaire, he was an engineer. Back in 1989, Shuku graduated from the Polytechnical University of Bucharest with a degree in machine building technology. Now, you might be wondering, why does an engineering degree matter in a football explainer? Well, it tells us exactly how his brain works. It's a highly technical, systematic, process-oriented mindset. He doesn't look at things as these grand emotional events. He looks at them as machines that need to be built, optimized, and maintained. And that deeply technical foundation, it laid the exact groundwork for his entire business approach.
Section 3. The Mob Expert Business Empire.
Founded in Bucharest in 1993, literally right as Romania was transitioning into a competitive private market, his company, Mobexpert, started out incredibly modestly. It was just a small shop selling office furniture to the country's new private businesses. But Shuku didn't want to just sell furniture, he wanted to own the whole machine. He used a strategy of vertical integration. Mobexpert went from just importing products to actually manufacturing them in their own factories, managing their own massive logistics platforms, and eventually running their own physical and online retail stores. He took complete control of the process, from the drawing board straight to the customer's living room. So the big takeaway here is that this massive growth was driven by a very strict, disciplined philosophy, based on a few core rules. Number 1. Spend according to real business needs, meaning, don't just throw money around because you have it. Number 2, reinvest heavily in manufacturing and infrastructure. Always respect your financial contracts, and above all else, prioritize long-term stability over short-term publicity. It's a highly disciplined, self-sustaining philosophy that was forged in the highly predictable world of retail.
Section 4. The Football Playbook. So what happens when a retail magnate decides to take on the sports world? Well, his sports empire builds with incredible speed. In May 2022, he officially steps into the football landscape by picking up a 50% stake in the Romanian club Rapid Bucharest, eventually becoming the majority shareholder. Then just 2.5 years later, in December 2024, he makes his massive move, grabbing that 77% stake in Genoa CFC, and by January 2025, Genoa's board officially named him club president. Think about that. From literally zero football involvement to the president of Italy's oldest club in less than 3 years. Just wild.
At Rapid Bucharest, we really got to see the very first application of his business mindset out on the football pitch. And his priorities, they weren't flashy at all. He insisted on timely payroll for all players and employees, so respecting financial commitments, exactly like at Mobexpert. He poured investments into the youth academy, the training grounds, and recovery spaces. And he demanded absolute financial independence, stating very clearly that the club shouldn't rely on political protection or public funding. He's all about building that underlying infrastructure rather than just splashing cash on quick temporary fixes.
There's a quote from him that perfectly captures this whole ethos. A successful football organization requires more than signing expensive senior players. What you should really take away from this is that in Shuku's eyes, long-term success comes from investing heavily in the hidden stuff, the foundations. We're talking the coaches, the medical staff, the scouting networks, the data analysts. It makes sense, right? Just like you can't run a massive retail store without a strong logistics warehouse, you cannot run a football club without a world-class backroom staff.
Section 5. Genoa's next chapter. And this is exactly where unstoppable efficiency meets immovable expectations. To really appreciate the contrast here, listen to this amazing piece of trivia. Did you know that the term Mr., which is used all over Italy today to refer to a football coach, was actually invented at Genoa? Yeah, back in the 1910s, Genoa players coined the term for their highly charismatic, pipe-smoking English manager William Garbett. He revived the club and led them to multiple championships. So Genoa isn't just a team, they literally invented the vocabulary of Italian football. And now, this deeply romantic, historic institution is being steered by a hypermodern, business-first retail magnate.
But here's the thing. Shuku isn't operating these clubs in isolation. He's building a vertical network, very much like his factories and furniture stores. Through strategic cooperation, Rapid Bucharest gets to benefit from Genoa's top-tier management experience and their broader commercial partnerships. And in return, Genoa CFC gets prime access to Eastern European talent and established loan pathways to help young players develop. It's a cross-border network that practically benefits both sides of his portfolio. He's essentially creating an integrated footballing supply chain.
Now, as his public profile has skyrocketed, his past has naturally come under some scrutiny. Documents from Romania's National Council for the Study of the Secretariat archives actually showed he was recruited as an information source while working as a tourism guide back during the communist period. However, it is important to note that upon review, the official majority decision by the council concluded that the evidence did not meet the legal conditions to classify him as a political police collaborator. So, while it remains a documented archival relationship, it is not a legal classification of collaboration.
Shifting back to the pitch, when Shuku was officially named Genoa president in January 2025, his public reaction was simple. He called it an honor and a responsibility. It's a very brief quote, sure, but it really acknowledges the immense, heavy pressure he's now under. He knows perfectly well that he has to turn his massive financial investments into lasting, stable sporting results for a fan base that has quite literally been demanding greatness since the 19th century.
And that leaves us with one final, incredibly compelling question to think about. Can a furniture magnate's strict, systematic discipline actually tame the wild chaos of Italian football? Can the predictable, logical rules of supply chains, logistics, and retail truly survive the unpredictable, weekend-to-weekend emotional roller coaster that is Serie A? It is the ultimate test of the outsider's playbook. And for sure, the entire football world will be watching to see exactly how this story ends.